Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan. And guess what, fellas? And ladies, we got a football game to talk about. The Eagles versus the New England Patriots on Sunday. We're just a few days away. That's it. It's three days away. It's just that's a few, right? A few is three. I was told. Couple is two, few is three. So we are a few days away from this game, and look, we'll preview it. This is the last, Adam. This is our last podcast of 2 weeks, because after Sunday we'll do 3 a week. So in this podcast, we'll do a little bit of a discussion on what's been going on with the Eagles over the last few days, and then we'll obviously preview the game a little bit, talk about some offensive changes against. We'll do basically Eagles offense versus Patriots D. Patriots offense versus Eagle D, and get into it.
There's a lot of change. This is gonna be a great show. There's so much that's changed for New England. When I went through this for my people I speak with, there's some stuff I didn't quite realize. Yeah, they do what they do, but they're going to be doing it a little differently because they have different personnel, and obviously Bill O'Brien in there now. Matt Patricia's on the other side. He's with the Eagles now, so that's a major change.
Yeah.
And how they deploy personnel. This is going to be a great show because we do it differently than anyone else. We strictly go by the people we speak with, and we know the teams well, but we talk to people around the league who kind of give us intel and information on how they see it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some stuff I didn't, when you talk to people, you talk to different people in particular, people who do advanced work on both teams. You get stuff you weren't aware of because they study teams better than anyone can. So this is why we do what we do. Can't wait to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. It's funny because I was talking recently with Greg Cosell, more on him in a second, and he was saying, it's funny. I randomly ran into Greg Cosell in South Jersey. I told you about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
and we were talking about this game, and he said, a lot of people just assume that the Patriots are going to do certain things, right? Because Bill O'Brien was known for whether it's your 2 tight end offense or you're throwing to the running backs. And he was saying that there's a danger in just guessing that a guy is going to come back and be the exact same way as if he hasn't evolved or the game hasn't evolved. So you make that point about the changes. There's changes on both teams' staffs. There's changes with both teams' personnel. I think that makes a very exciting game. And of course, Tom Brady being welcomed back there to Foxboro is the icing on the cake for them. Yeah.
So and I got something really interesting for what we could see defensively from the Patriots. So John T. Filippo put me on the phone. So
nice.
Yeah, we're going to give you. Yeah, he told me about this years ago, and I totally forgot about it.
Okay.
And I spared no expense this week. I because it's game one, we're throwing the kitchen sink at you folks on the show, and we will Sunday. Obviously, we'll break that down for a pregame show, but. Because the Patriots, you never know what they're going to throw at you. And then talking to someone who actually called a game against the Patriots, it was just fun to hear John explain it to me. It wasn't so fun for him. It wasn't a great experience for him in that game, but just getting his bird's eye view on what it could look like and what they threw at him was fascinating. And we'll talk about that today.
So a couple of things on that note, talking to John D. Filippo. First, we want to remind you that Inside the Birds is presented by our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It is the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds. So I know everybody's been waiting for announcements. We can make a few announcements. Let's start with what I mentioned with Greg Cosell. This on Sunday, we will do the Inside the Birds pregame show. Inside the Birds pregame live will be streamed on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel and our other socials. Most people watch it on our YouTube channel. It will involve myself, Adam, Greg Cosell, and Jason Avant. What we don't know yet is the time. We're just working with we're working with a couple of different places, sponsors, things like that. And sometimes sometimes people want you at a place at a certain time.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. So we're working on that. And since this is the last podcast before the pregame show, I would just encourage everybody to check out at Inside Birds on Twitter, check out the Inside the Birds Facebook page, check out the Inside the Birds, subscribe to the Inside the Birds newsletter, any arm of Inside the Birds that you can get your hands on, do that, because we'll have it updated for you. So we're excited about that. And then we will also have some more additional programming to discuss with you fairly soon.
Cannot wait. It's all different. It's stuff we've not done before. We're bringing some other people in. Yeah, it's all, as Geoff said, we can't really say much other than we're hinting as much. In fact, I hinted Wednesday night in a chat, and we're going to announce something major right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, there will also be an Inside the Birds post-game show.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Directly after the show, like last year. This will be season 2 of the Inside the Birds post-game show. So make sure again, that one you don't have to look for times. We usually do it right after, a couple minutes after the game's over. If you follow us on @InsideBirds on Twitter, or X as it's now called, or you can follow Adam @Caplan NFL and Geoff @Geoff Mosher NFL. So or @Geoff P. Mosher. I forgot I changed
yeah,
that.
Geoff
P.
right,
Mosher.
right.
Yeah.
Can we say we're doing with someone?
Yes. So I was going to throw it to you, Adam, because we have something special for our Patreon members that I wanted.
Well, hang on.
Unless there was something else you wanted. I think that's
it with the post game. No, with the post game, could we say who we're doing with, or we can't yet?
I'm pretty sure it's locked in, but let's just hold off for a second because we're not there's a little Wizard of Oz here at Inside the Birds who has to give us the clearance on that.
Our career's about announcements and what we're allowed to say and not on the contract, all that stuff. So anyway, but the big news for Patreon. This we've been waiting for this one. I think it was your idea, if I'm not mistaken. Like the key here is relationships that you and I have with people. And this one, there's nothing will ever top this. I don't know what else to tell you, but I hinted this in Patreon. So we reached an agreement with John DiFilippo. John's going to be only Patreon for what we're about to tell you. He's going to. This is Geoff's idea because I said to him, hey, I want to get Flip involved. What can we do? John wants to do media stuff. He goes, I got it. Have him watch Eagles tape. I'm like, oh my god, what a great idea. But I took it another level. We both did. We don't want to really put him out. But we said, listen, let's have him watch the Eagles offense. Because that's former offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. So he's going to watch the Eagles coaching tape, folks. You know what coaching tape is. Most people do. Some people don't. All 22 is coaching tape. That's the same tape teams watch. It's not TV copy. It's the actual all 22. You get the end zone copy. You get the end zone and sideline and overview. And he's going to break down the Eagles offense after each week, after each game. And it's only for Patreon, so it'll be on when John gets done with it, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll drop it on our Patreon channel, and you get that as an exclusive for our people. And this is I almost passed out when John agreed to it. I was like, I can't believe we're getting this.
No, it's great. I mean, really, it's fantastic for our members. And again, that's patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. We do want to thank our newest members, Brendan and Hannah. So they have now hopped aboard as more people are taking advantage of some great content that we have to offer, and having Coach DiFilippo, Coach Flip, every week breaking down some element of the Eagles offense, I think just is another dimension as we continue to try to raise this thing up as many levels as possible. Yeah.
We're adding more stuff. That's not it. We got more announcements coming, so we can't handle it. This one, I did all that I could to give it out Wednesday night. I just, because I know you were going to scream at me, but like Sirianni screams. I'd say that
get all hot-headed on you.
Exactly. I don't know if you saw the Athletic article on Jonathan Gannon. It was a good article, but you and I have known this about Sirianni behind the scenes, so I was warned about this. It's not a big deal, but guys who coach with an Indy told me he's a yeller and a whatever, but that's okay.
For now, it's okay for now. We'll see.
Yeah, but he gets the players love him, so he gets through to people. They know he holds them accountable. So anyway, no, what in that article, I think Gannon called him, what did he call him? Called him a smokestack. He called him something. He had some nickname for him because he yells and screams. He's about, he's about to go off or something. I forget what it is. So it's really funny. But anyway, so as we move on here, we'll have more announcements, but just hang in there. We can't announce stuff until we have the agreement signed. That's all we can tell you, because we've learned over the years. We had a couple agreements that went down to the wire, and then things sometimes, and when anyone who's watching here, you're in the media or has their own company, and when you think you have a deal but it's not signed, you don't have a deal. I don't care if they agree or not. That's great, but with John, we don't need a contract. His word is good as gold. So
that's right.
Yeah, and
everybody else is Frank Gore right now. John's commitment is his word is bond, and that's great. Everybody else is Frank Gore to us right now. No, I just
Schefter and I had that story at ESPN, and I'll never forget. because we use certain language on Twitter, something like he's told people he's going to sign with the Eagles. What we said, and every year it comes out, someone retweets it or favorites it, and it's kind of funny. And I used to comment on it. Former Eagle legend, ... Frank Gore. So anyway, yes,
I still get a kick out of it, man. Eagles legend Frank Gore.
I love saying that. Or other guys. There have been other guys that backed out of deals over the years, but that was
God. There's been we go through them every year. The guy Anthony Barr backed out of a deal with the Jets.
right. But with the
There were
Eagles,
several.
right.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back to all the way to Charles.
Bentley, I was the worst one. Oh, that was when.
What was his name? Charles Bentley, is it?
You got it. No, you nailed it. In
Yeah.
fact, my story with that was someone with the Eagles, was on vacation in Cancun. So there was no texting, I don't think, back then. Or if there was, I didn't get it. So anyway, so I guess it got reported by NJ.com that by the time you read this, he'll be an Eagle. Oops. They thought they had an agreement, no signing, and someone asked me, hey, do you know what's going with Charles Bentley? I said, I have no idea. Isn't he going to sign with you guys? He goes, no. This person said no, and with an exclamation point. That was all I knew, because I couldn't work on the story because I was away. I was on vacation. One of the rare
so crazy.
A couple of days before, I know, and I remember reading it in the NJ.com article, reading everything was out there. I was like, oh man, what happened? He just backed out of an agreement not to sign him.
And then he never wound up playing a snap for the Browns either because he tore his ACL. And then he had many, I think, surgeries, and he tried to come back and it didn't work. It's just kind of a crazy story.
And look, you just never know the way things are going to work out. But here we go, on the precipice of a season as we move along here, and can't wait to bring you the show today, and can't wait to bring you some stuff this season, which you guys are going to love.
All right, so let's look at some interesting news and notes going into this game. So we mentioned in the last podcast, they're not going to have a punter on the 53 to start. Aaron Sipos is on the practice squad, and as far as we understand, and now it's already here Thursday. So I mean, it'd be very unlikely all of a sudden to sign a punter. Aaron Sipos is going to be the punter. He's going to be elevated for the game and have to serve as and be the punter.
It's funny when we get information. Sometimes I roll my eyes and this can't be true. But we were told, and we keep saying every time we do a show, or we do an interview on 97.3, we keep saying, listen, we keep being told it's going to be Sipos, unless they change their mind, and they've not changed their mind, as you said, and it's definitely the way things work. Teams, when they add players for a given week, they like to do it on Tuesday or right before practice. Like they might have an agreement with an agent Tuesday night, and the player is there for Wednesday's first practice. So yeah, I know it's a punter. Does he really need to, if they were going to sign a new punter, does he really need to be there Wednesday? No, but you want to get the timing down. You want to see how the ball comes off the guy's foot. Mm-hmm. It's just, I know it's a little coaching note. I was learned over the years talking to special team coaches for 20 years. And being that Sipos is there, and the big one is the hold, the operation, as we explained many times, that's really important to have the guy there and getting the hold for the field goals and extra points correct. That is important.
I think that's a big part of it, Adam. I mean, I no one's told me that, but we've talked about how much of an impact positively that had on Jake Elliott. And I think it's really difficult on the fly, right, to replace the punter. You might get better punts, but you may get terrible holds, and the field, to be honest with you, I know everybody can bring up the Super Bowl, but the field goal is more important than the punt, especially since the Eagles go for it so much on fourth down.
Just field position, though. You got, but
I mean, we know Aaron. My point is, we know Aaron can punt. Like he's not great, but it's not like your choice is field goal or no punter, right? Sure. I'd rather have the better field goal kicker than the better punter.
Right, but because on your point, see, I think people are holding way too much on the Super Bowl and forgetting before that bad injury against the Giants, the bad ankle, the surgery. He's actually not bad. When it wasn't great, but he was passive, serviceable. But as we've always said on the show, as Bill Polian told us, try not to settle. I know it's a punter. Bill said if you get an upgrade, you do it. Now as he said, he laughed. He goes, "We weren't going to get an upgrade over Peyton Manning, so that was never consideration. But if you could get an upgrade, you look for it." And quite frankly, most of the punters that they worked out, I think they worked. I don't have the full list in front of me, but I know most of these guys are historically better than Sipos. But like Gillikin, the former punter from Saints, and who was Penn Stater, really good punter. Just got beat out by another older punter. Guy's 30, a guy from Australia, but it is what it is. We don't usually spend a lot of time on this stuff, but people seem to be obsessed with this thing. And the joke is, boy, if you're really obsessed with the punter, I guess the roster's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
True. But I think people are also obsessed because this is the punter that helped cost them the Super Bowl. So I think that part really sticks in the craw.
Last game played.
Yeah.
Or gameplay meant something, yeah.
So as far as injuries, I think we were sort of last podcast we did, we were wondering how things were going to shake out because of Nolan Smith had only been doing limited work right in the last days of camp, and then Dallas Goedert had suddenly not been there, and it turns out that the Eagles are really healthy going into this Sunday opener. Knock on wood. You hope nothing happens in practice like a Travis Kelce situation, but the only thing that they listed on their injury report was Josh Jobe with an illness, and I know there were some reporters tweeted he was in the medical tent at the end of that practice, but an illness you hope is not too major and that he'll be all right.
Guys with illnesses like 90% of the time play, whether it's obviously COVID related, if it's not COVID related, even guys who like have a 24-hour flu want to play. So if he's on the field today and Friday, he's definitely playing. It's just what's out.
Yeah.
Just step back and cap any player, but in general, the guy would play, even if he's limited, because it just doesn't happen if a guy has an illness. If you're not feeling well, he works the next 2 days, the guy plays like 99.9 times out of 100. The guy plays. So
right.
But the thing that surprises Nolan Smith, that's great. Yeah, Nolan Smith. I expect him to be on the injury report limited, but I know he's going to play. That was never in question. But the fact that he's not listed on the injury report, great, because he almost didn't practice for 2 weeks, and he returned last week, he made it clear he was playing. We knew he was going to play, but the good thing is the fact that he's not listed on the injury report, even limited. That's great.
Yeah, no, that is good. He expects to play, and I'm really intrigued to see how the Eagles use him, Adam. It's going to be, not just in defense, but on special teams. How many different ways can they get this guy on the field? I'm excited to see that.
Well, here's the thing, because I know you have that note about Patrick Johnson, who's on the roster. Made it. We know we probably only play specials unless someone gets hurt. Because right now it's Reddick playing with the surgically repaired thumb, whether it's a club or a wrap. That's going to be different for him. You've got Sweat. Your edges are Graham, Sweat, Reddick. Barnett, technically, not a very good pass rusher. And Smith. So and Johnson, technically, yes, but he's not going to play defense very much at all unless they have to. He might get 5 to 10 snaps on defense, but that's not where he's there to be a special teamer. So, people are wondering, will Smith play? I'd be shocked if he doesn't play. Why wouldn't he play?
Yeah, no, I would also be shocked if he didn't play. There's no reason not to play him if he's healthy. So that would be good. Plus, again, he can help you in a couple of different ways. Let's get to the Patriots injuries. They've got a little bit of a situation brewing on the offensive line. We'll talk about that in a second. First, I want to remind everybody that it's been Ocean Casino Resort's 5th birthday this summer. They've been celebrating with you all summer long. They still are. They're still celebrating. I mean, it feels like summer, right? It's like 95 degrees out every day lately. So join Ocean for exciting promotions and sweepstakes, headline entertainment, the best day life and nightlife lineup in AC. They got the birthday bar, exclusive local collabs and partnerships, commemorative 5th birthday merchandise, and a whole lot more. They've had fireworks and unique events all summer long, and that's going to continue into the fall. And Ocean Rewards members are going to enjoy over 5 million in gifts and prizes. So you got to sign up for an Ocean Rewards card to get in on the fun next time you visit. All right, Adam, the offense for the Patriots has taken a little bit of a hit on the offensive line. Now, I think we mentioned this recently too, maybe in the last pod. Their starting right tackle was going to be Riley Reiff, Riley Reiff. I mean, he's kind of been on the decline for a while anyway, but now he's hurt, and they got to find a backup to a guy who should be a backup.
Yeah, so Calvin Anderson, who was actually signed originally by the Patriots as an undrafted free agent in 27, then he was cut, went to the Jets practice squad, then went to Denver for the previous 4 years. And some playing time, but mostly a backup in his career. He's back with the Patriots, and that's it. He was the last man standing. In fact, he was on NFI for a lot of training camp, and they activated him a couple weeks ago. So he will start. He could play right tackle or left tackle. So right now, They have zero experience, folks. If you're watching here on YouTube with the zero, they have no experience as backups. So they're all guys who've not played before. They have 3 rookies. Tyron Wheatley's son, Tyron Wheatley Jr., who's basically an undrafted free agent who's bounced around with very little playing experience, and Verdarian Lowe, who was a 6th rounder for the Vikings they acquired, the backup tackle, who's not played. So they can't afford another injury. Kelvin Anderson's really better 6th offensive lineman. And they got Michael Owenu back from his injury. He was on PUP for a while. He's a starting guard. Good player, by the way, from 6th round pick. So they had guys who were hurt, who were just getting back. They got problems, man. They can't afford an injury. Eagles have a major. We'll get into we'll get into the matchup. They certainly have an advantage here. And now also Michael Owenu, they just got him back from the ankle injury, so he's expected to go. Paul Strange, who was a strange draft pick because that was a shocker when they drafted him in the 1st round. Last year, we talked to teams at 3rd or 4th round grades on him, but out of Tennessee Chattanooga, but he turned to be a decent player, but he should play with his injury. But man, they are hurting. They have 0 depth now on the offensive line.
Yeah, it's weird because they're hurting at positions that they, as you just mentioned, they're not exactly deep at. You got 2 wide receivers who one's definitely not playing, broken collarbone, right? And Devontae Parker with the knee. So we'll see about that. But it's not like they have a plethora of very good wide receivers. And then, of course, when you got guard and tackle issues, that's when you're facing the Eagles, you want to be able to score and protect your quarterback so you can throw the ball around and score. So that doesn't really bode well for the Patriots on the day that they're going to retire. Is it they're retiring Tom Brady's jersey? How are they doing? They're just honoring him?
Honoring him. I don't know how they're doing it. It's a good question. But getting back to the interest, Tyquan Thornton for the 2nd straight year, who was a 2nd rounder last year, who was their only true speed receiver.
Yeah.
So he's on IR with another shoulder injury, broke his collarbone last year. Devontae Parker missed most of training camp, or some of training camp with a knee problem. He's trending towards playing, but he's no lock, and they redid his contract. They actually extended it. So yeah, you're right. They have injury problems. The Eagles are clean injury wise, and other than the 2 guys who would play mostly on special teams. But the fact of the matter is, the Eagles certainly have an advantage here, and they're banged up. And we'll get into matchups later, but the Eagles certainly have an advantage here. And boy, Bill Bryan is back, and he's got to deal with some challenges here.
No doubt about it. All right, why don't we get into these changes and this matchup between the Eagles and the Patriots? Week 1 here, games at Gillette Stadium, 4:25 kickoff. If you like 1:00 games, I'm sorry if you're an Eagles fan, because you're just not going to see a whole lot of them this year. I think just 3 so far on the schedule. Yeah, 3. So before we get into all that rest, I just want to take a quick pause and hear from some great sponsors. All right, we're back, and we're going to talk about some of the changes going on here in the. You said you were going to talk a little bit about something DiFilippo, right? Flip told you about what is about New England's staff.
Yeah, we're going to do that. That's going to be on this in this segment. But what I want to talk about first. Because people keep asking me this question, I know they've asked you, is okay, what's the difference between Brian Johnson and Shane Steichen as play callers?
Right.
So, first of all, the thing we saw in training camp, I'd be absolutely flabbergasted if the backs don't come out catching the football. You don't make a trade for John Swift to make him a running back, just a runner. That's not why they traded for him. They traded for him because he has a special ability. They didn't throw Sanders the ball much. They didn't throw Gainwell the ball much, and that's what he did in college. But Swift is here to catch the football and run it occasionally. So I expect that's one. Now, obviously, Shane Steichen could have done that if he was the OC. But Johnson doesn't have a workload as a play caller here. He did it in college, but he hasn't done it in the National Football League. But you can expect that's going to happen with these backs. Swift and Gainwell especially. Boston Scott can do it, but the guys who are going to do it are Swift and Gainwell. And we're going to see that. That's one big thing that you're going to see on offense is the backs catching football. I was just blown away by how smooth Swift was catching the football. That 9 route he ran in training camp where he fell down. And he caught it and he beat the defender. I just couldn't believe it. Not only we've not seen that here from any of the Eagles backs. I mean, even B West, great as he was, special football. I didn't see that.
No, it's funny. It's funny. Mike Gill asked me in a Football at 4 that we do on 97.3 ESPN every day at 4:00, Monday through Friday. he asked me about something you said about maybe the Eagles averaging about 7 targets for running backs a game. And I said,
in
yeah,
this game, by the
in
way.
my head that sounded right, but then I'm like, wow, if you project that over a season, that's like 120 targets for running back. So I went back and looked at how many running back targets the Eagles had last year in the passing game, and it was 59 or 60. So literally this would be twice as many targets, but you could argue they have 2 times as many reasons to throw the
Yes.
ball because you have a guy like DeAndre Swift.
Now, here's a number for you. If Swift plays a minimum of 14 games off a minimum of 50 catches, I'm telling you, this guy is incredible catching the football. It's so smooth. You saw what happened in the game 1 last year.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles saw that up close. It wasn't good. It endures in Detroit on the fake stuff. But I said in this game, I said to Mike on Football 4, I'm expecting a minimum of 7 targets for the running backs in this game, though. In this game.
Oh, in this game, okay. I thought he thought you said a week, every week.
No. I said this game, I expect him to come out throwing. Now,
Yeah, I would think so.
Get to what Flip told me, because this applies to this game.
Okay.
John said, because I remember you mentioned this to me years ago. He said, hey, can you remind me of what that defense looked like when you were with the Vikings calling the place in New England? I think it might have been Monday night game. He said, yeah. He brought in a defense he'd never run before. Because they know that they're aware that the Belichick will pull some stuff out they haven't shown before, because he ran a different defense they've never run before. It's called a walk around. So the defensive lineman would stand up. Post snap, you never could quite figure out because he didn't know what they were going to do. No one did. It was Belichick's idea. Belichick historically talking to coaches over the years. He'll go look at tape from, it could be a college game. It could be another defense, another team that ran it and that he liked. Because I guess, as Andy Reid told me many years ago, he loved to steal plays from other teams. He just loves it. Most smart coaches do this. So Belichick ran what's called a walk around, where he had his linemen literally walking, post snap, pre snap, walking around, standing up. He might only have 1 defensive lineman down. He might only have two with a hand down. Sometimes none of them. They would all walk. And because this was happening, he didn't see it on tape. He had to adjust. It was tough. It was really tough. John said it was an incredible challenge, and it made him think on the fly. And look, this is what coaches have to do. So this is what we mean. Sometimes people think it's overrated with the Patriots. No, it's not. This is what Belichick does.
Yeah. He's got a trick up his sleeve.
Yeah, exactly.
Trick up his hoodie, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, so this is what's a great challenge for Hurts here. As great as he was last season, as well as they protected him. If you're Belichick, because Hurts was so dominant and their offense was so great, you better throw the kitchen sink. You better throw something that Sirianni hasn't seen. So and Hurts and Brian Johnson calling his first game. So expect the unexpected here, folks. So that's why I wanted to make sure I brought this up, because in the back of my mind, I remember John telling me this 4 years ago. I couldn't remember what the hell there's something weird. And then when he said walk around, I'm like, yeah, the defensive linemen are walking around pre-snap and dropping sometimes post-snap. Like, oh man, I'd hate to have to call a game against this. So I wanted to bring it up.
No, that's good stuff. And it actually goes to what we've been saying quite a bit this offseason, is that the Eagles are no longer the hunters as much as they are the hunted. I mean, they didn't win the Super Bowl, but they came closer than anybody else in the NFC did. So it doesn't matter. No matter who they face, they are going to be the hunted from that team, unless it's Kansas City. So I think that they are going to have to get accustomed to 2 things. One, teams doing what you're saying, which is trying some different stuff, knowing that they have to beat them. And 2, that idea that, you're going to get that team's best shot every week. That team is going to play. If you're playing a B team, you might get a B+ effort for that, because they're giving it everything they got that week, because you're the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right. And Patricia now on the whatever he's doing with the Eagles, he's basically a coaching consultant for them, helping both sides of the football. But this is great having him. And Belichick was asked, about that. He actually acknowledged it. He goes, oh, I know Matt's there. And the media there was asked about it. And he goes, yeah, he'll help them, whatever. He didn't seem to be worried about it. But having Patricia here, because he knows Belichick better than anyone, pretty much, from a coaching standpoint. So he could talk about, okay, here's what we did against this kind of running quarterback. You go to Cam Newton, whether it's Josh Allen, whatever, Michael, whatever running quarterbacks going back, as long as Matt was with them, this is great having him, and that's not why they brought him in, but it just so happens that's so they're going against week one. This is great.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And I don't know if you caught Bill Belichick's press conference on Wednesday. He had like a 3.5 minute opening statement about how good the Eagles are and how so two things were really funny about that. He talked about their history of putting out very good quarterbacks from McNabb. He said McNabb to Vic to Carson Wentz, and he said Carson Wentz for most of the year, and then he said Hurts. He conveniently left out the quarterback that beat him in the Super Bowl. I thought that was funny.
Oh, yeah,
he did not want to say Nick Foles' name. It was hysterical.
but Bill does this historically. He's great with personnel. He'll go over everything. He talked about Rick Lovato.
Mm-hmm.
But long snapper. He talked about Sidney Brown, Blanchard. But now it's Boston Scott. Covey as a punt returner. And by the way, Covey's tape. Talking to someone from another team, and this came to me this week. He goes, "Hey, you should know Britt Covey." He goes, "This is an advanced guy, so this is great stuff." He goes, "Look," he goes, "This is Britt Covey." He goes, they actually started blocking for him last year. He didn't mention the weeks, but he goes, "This kid's really quick." This Belichick talked about explosive, but he didn't explain why. I just thought it was funny because this reminded me of what Belichick said in that press conference on Wednesday.
Good stuff. All right. What was the second thing he had a world of praise for the Eagles pass rush and said it was by far the best in the league. And he said by a mile, so that was pretty interesting. Not surprisingly. So let's talk about this Eagles offense against the Patriots defense, Adam. You just brought it up. They're going to try to do things. We know that the Patriots always have a well disciplined playmaking back end of their defense. I mean, Bill Belichick always develops corners and safeties really well. He plays a lot of corners and safeties. And I've always thought that that's helped their pass rushers. They've always had, I can't remember a whole lot of Patriots teams over the last 10 years that had like a 15, 17 sack guy, like an all pro pass rusher. But they had guys like Flowers, right? Judon's a really good pass rusher, but I think this is his 13 that he's been on. They seem to just be able to get good pass rushers, outside linebacker pass rushers in and out of there, who I think take advantage of what goes on in the back end to be able to buy them a couple extra seconds to get to the quarterback. So obviously the Eagles offensive line in general has to look out for what they've got on the edge and guys like Judon, but really it's Jalen Hurts has to read what the Patriots are going to be trying to doing on the back end, because that's to me where it starts with the Belichick defense.
Sure. And Judon, 28 sacks the last 2 seasons, 15.5. He's going to have the bullseye on him. That's a guy the Eagles have to worry about. Josh Uche, 55, is really good. A 22nd rounder. Christian Barmore is from Philly, who played at Alabama. He's a good defensive tackle. Very underrated Godshaw and Lawrence Guy, Dietrich Wise. Family's a good middle linebacker. Like, they have a really good front. They're 34. They've run the Giants 34 since the 80s. This is what Belichick's his version of it. He ran it with the Giants and he brought it to New England. It's hard. It's hard to decipher. Now, they only had 2 weeks leading up to that 17th Super Bowl. The Eagles solved it. They've had all offseason to get this done. This is what they do when they do their install. They're installing for the Eagles. This is their first opponent. And you got Hurts, the dual threat quarterback. This is going fascinating. The chess match, Brian Johnson and Sirianni, and Kevin Patullo is heavily involved in the game planning. And Brian Johnson, who now goes from quarterback coach to OC, this is gonna be fun. The chess match. We're gonna have more on this on our pregame show on Sunday, but I wanted to give you guys the stuff because there's so much that goes on here. And pre and post snap. And by the way, Gerard Mayo is their defense coordinator. He calls their defense. He's obviously a former first-round pick, an inside linebacker, great football player, really smart.
Mm-hmm.
And Adrian Phillips, number 21, who's a good player as a jack linebacker. They move him in space down below sometimes, not just a safety. Kyle Duggar, 23, is a terrific safety.
Oh, he's good, Adam. He's a good player, yeah.
Their front is really good. And this is going to be a good test for the Eagles because we know the protection's great, but they've got Jack Driscoll starting at right guard. You know that they know this, and we're going to see how they game plan the Patriots do to try to beat.
Yeah, Cam Jurgens making his debut at right guard. So that'll be, they will try to confuse him. Christian Gonzalez, the first round pick who fell a little bit in the draft, which you and I, if anybody listened to our pre-draft coverage, could have seen that coming because the sort of draft media's version of Christian Gonzalez is not what you and I were hearing about Christian Gonzalez, but still a good corner, and he fell there in the first round. I do like that secondary. Duggar, is he the guy from Lenore Rhine? I'll never forget that,
Correct.
right?
Good call. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I never heard of that school until they drafted him. Well,
Me neither.
I knew leading up that he was a good player, but man, he's good. It's funny. The only area Belichick really struggles drafting is receiver. He's done an awful job there. Everywhere else, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll take because he created the scouting system that Ozzie Newsome would use because Ozzie worked for Bill after he retired in Cleveland, and then Ozzie he took that system and ran it in Baltimore. I was pretty good playing. But Bill will draft players much earlier than most teams will. And Gonzalez, smooth player, too finesse. Teams said there were too many plays in college where he should have made the play.
Yep.
Whatever the case may be, but he's smooth and athletic and long, and see what the Eagles do there. But this is the chess match between Brian Johnson and Sirianni and their game planners. And Alex Tanney, by the way, is a quarterback coach. It's only his third coaching. See how much input. We'll learn more about his input. But then Hurts versus their D-line, as we mentioned, and their inside backers like Jelani Tavai and Juwan Bentley's really good, by the way. He's number 8.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, he was very underrated, 5th rounder of 2018. You mentioned Trey Flowers, who came back for a second tour duty, but he's on PUP, so he won't be available. But I'm telling you, this will not be a cakewalk. And then Keon White, we'll see how much he plays. He's the second rounder of Georgia Tech, who's a really talented player.
Right.
So we'll see how much he plays. But this is going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you make a lot of sense when you say they throw the running backs, especially because, again, very good secondary. They'll have some good coverage against the wide receivers and the tight end. It might be a really nice game for them to get DeAndre Swift involved in the passing game. Let's talk about the Patriots offense against the Eagles defense. First, we want to remind everybody about our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. It's also here from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you hop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. Like we've been saying, great time to buy or sell a car.
And also SkyMotorCars.com. And, they do sell. They still have convertibles there, which is amazing. And
You interested?
If I could afford it, I would do it because there's nothing better than having a convertible. Sunroof,
No, you're right. If you're going to go, so you might as well just go it all. Go completely topless. I love it.
A friend of mine had a convertible Saab. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Saab went out of business many years ago, but
I remember the Saabs. Yeah.
The Saab.
All right. Can I just say that the craziest thing looking at the Patriots depth chart on offense, it's has nothing to do with anybody who's going to start, but it's seeing that the backup left tackle is Tyrone Wheatley Jr. Okay. I can't get that. That doesn't compute in my head. I just can't.
I know. And he's not a running back. And he went to Morgan State, by the way, not Michigan, but his dad.
Correct.
But here's the thing. As I said earlier, like they have, he probably will wind up backing up both spots. I don't know if the kid So is ready. We'll learn a little bit more about the City So, who's a rookie, but they just don't have any playing experience, these guys. So, Trent Brown, who's played right tackle, left tackle, didn't work. He signed a major deal with the Raiders, didn't work out. But he's back here. The Patriots got his weight down to a manageable level. As we mentioned, Calvin Anderson starting now right tackle for Riley Reed. The Eagles have a really decided advantage here. I'm so interested to see what Sean Desai here does. This is where the coaching changes come in. Then Billy O'Brien, Bob is back. Bill O'Brien is back, running his version. And this offense is the Ron Earhart offense. You mentioned this in passing. The old Earhart offense, as explained to me recently, was strictly 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, shifts and motions. This is what the offense was. But O'Brien And we saw, and Belichick did this. I'm talking to someone who was with the Patriots many years ago in scouting. Bill changed it when they made the trade for, I can see in front of me, the little slot receiver who's now
Les Welker.
Thank you. When they gave 2 draft picks for Welker, they went heavy 11 personnel. That Bill saw the game changing. That's this guy told me, and he also saw changing when he drafted Aaron Hernandez to play with Gronk, and that boy until Hernandez got in trouble, they were unstoppable together.
They were completely unstoppable. You're right. It was a nightmare.
So digging into this thing, I wouldn't, as you said very well, I wouldn't just assume they're going to run a heavy 12. Now,
right.
Mike Gesicki's in there, who is a flex tight end. He couldn't block me, but he's a finesse, athletic tight end. Now, the Dolphins made a major mistake last year tagging him. They never should have done it. Should have let him walk. But he just didn't do much. But he's over his injury, by the way. He's not even on the injury report. Missed time in training camp. But him and Hunter Henry could play the Y. He could play in line. He could also be split out. It's a slot tight end, number 85. He's very talented. He'd score in the red zone. But Gesicki is a slot tight end only. He's athletic. This is going to be interesting because because the Eagles are no longer really good at tight end in terms of coverage. So that's one way. If I'm O'Brien and Belichick game planning, I am going after the Eagles linebackers and safeties. This Gesicki, look, he's not a major factor, but he could be a factor in this game because he's pretty athletic.
Yeah, it's a tough. I'm curious to see how it unfolds because I see the temptation to want to do that, but I don't see the temptation to want to drop back 30, even if you're throwing short, to drop back that much when you've got
but when they do
right tackle and right guard issue,
Right, you're right. But when they go to 11, Gesicki will be the slot tight end, and you're going to see. But Kendrick Bourne's a good player, number 84. Kendrick Bourne, Matt Patricia had no idea what to do with the guy. He excelled under Josh McDaniels 2 years ago. It really, like, Bourne's a good player. He's not fast. Right. He's a good slot. It's Smith-Schuster and Devontae Parker. As we mentioned, Parker is a big guy. They knew him because he was with Miami. They made that trade in the division to make that trade, which is crazy. Smith-Schuster, he's not on the injury report, by the way, with the knee problem, but over the years we've mentioned this, we've talked about him. He's had knee problems. Not the player he wants, doesn't run as well. The good thing for the Eagles is they don't have to worry about a vertical threat at receiver. They just don't have that guy.
Yeah, they really don't. They don't at all. You're right. They have big physical receivers. Juju Smith-Schuster, he can catch the ball well, but it doesn't run. He never really ran that fast. So you got 3 guys who just, I don't know what Sean Desai's going to want, if he's going to feel the need to play a whole lot of 2-back, 2 shell defenses, and keep everything underneath, because the construct of the Patriot defense might not be to try to beat them over the top anyway. So it'll be a good cat and mouse game. Obviously, the guy who had a breakout year for them last year, Adam, is Ramondre Stevenson, the running back. I call him Ramondre the Giant because he's good. He's one of my favorite young players in the league because he's a big guy, Adam, but if you watch him run, he's got like little guy's feet. He's very shifty and elusive for what he lacks in breakaway speed. He can make people miss because he can give you that side to side, juke and get you out of sorts.
Yeah, he's a big guy who can catch the football, by the way. One note I should add, we'll see how much he plays, is Demario Douglas, who's a 6th round of Liberty. He's just really small. It's just over 5'8". He could run for his size, but in terms of elite deep threat, I don't know about that yet. But again, he hasn't played an NFL game. He is small, but it's one guy we'll take a look at, number 81. But again, in terms of proven deep threats, I just don't have anyone. But Stevenson, number 38, the running back, who's in his 3rd year now, the 4th rounder, really gifted. He had a breakout season last year. Ezekiel Elliott will back him up. It's the only 2 running backs they have. Elliott was excellent as a backup running back. They don't let the average per carry fool you. Good finisher when they needed carries to finish off a game last year for Pollard. Jack Pollard, he took over. But he's a grinder now. He's not explosive anymore.
No.
But he's a good backup. They may add a running back. Oh, by the way, Jalen Reagor did sign with them. Could be a punt returner.
To the practice squad, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They do have Kevin Harris, who's a draftee on the practice squad. Draftee last year. Look, now Mac Jones, terrible year last year because of the coaching. Let's call it like it is. It was awful. I don't know what they were doing last year. He regressed. he rebelled. He had issues. It's not a secret for
Mhm.
anyone who really covers the Patriots. If you're listening, you know this. The veteran, the veteran, some of the veteran players have issues with the scheme and the play calling. Because Patricia tried to change it a little bit. From what I understand, it just didn't go over well. It was terrible. And Mac Jones was great as a rookie. Really, it's really good, pretty special. I expect Bill O'Brien to get things going here, and we don't know. As I guess as Cosell told you when you ran into him, you don't quite know what O'Brien's going to do here because coaches coach to the personnel that they have. They can go 11 with Parker, Bourne, and Smith-Schuster. They could go 12 with Henry and Gesicki. You don't have to be in a passing situation, by the way, to be an 11. You could pass out of 12. That's
right.
Some first down. That doesn't matter.
Sure.
So this is how you want to deploy them. And by the way, Stevens can catch the ball really well. So I'm fascinated to see what Sean Desai, new Eagles defensive coordinator, and he's going to run Fangio, but his version of it, it's not going to be the same as Gannon. I can tell you that. It will not be the same exactly. Just how much he's going to be different, that remains to be seen. But we got a nugget for you on the pregame show, which we're working on to get it. We talked to a coach who knows Desai a little bit, and he gave us something. We're going to look into this, see how accurate.
Good. And, we did I hope everybody checked out on InsideTheBirds.com. We did an two-part analytics series. We had our guru, Sam Finkel, who does a great job with analytics for us, go through every single defensive snap in the preseason. Now, nobody's sitting here saying what happens in the preseason is going to happen during the regular season, but there were certainly some trends that Sam found that were pretty obvious as to what kind of fronts and personnel groupings that Desai liked to put out and heavily practiced in, which you do have to prepare your team for the season in camp and preseason. It matched what we were seeing in camp as far as maybe a different line alignment than we saw Jonathan Gannon using last year, where Jonathan Gannon used a lot of 5-man fronts with 2 overhang players, 3 hands in the dirt linemen. We're seeing a little bit of a different alignment from Sean Desai that looks more like 2 years ago, Eagles alignment. So we'll see if that carries into the regular season. But the 2-part series is really good, Adam. The first part was sort of just diagramming how much a percentage certain looks that Sean Desai did, and then part 2 was how which downs and distances those specific looks were used against, and also what offensive personnel formations those looks were used against. It was very thorough. It was excellent. I hope everybody checks it out on InsideTheBirds.com.
And don't forget, now I'm going to actually rewatch this because this stuff was incredible. We had Chuck Logano on, the former Bears defense coordinator. Sean Desai worked under him for Patreon last month in August.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck said he's going to come back for a Patreon people later in the season when we think it's appropriate. I'm going to go back and watch that because he gave everything out, like what he thought.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some stuff he gave us so much information. I just can't remember all of it. But he talked about coverages. And because he knows Sean, he knows what Sean's comfortable with. It was just phenomenal. Another great exclusive for a Patreon.
I have a hard time thinking this is going to be a blitz game for Sean Desai, given the issues the Patriots have up front. I mean, this guy has historically blitzed when he was with Chicago at something like a 21% clip. It was,
you don't blitz
you don't blitz a lot. So I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of that on Sunday.
And in our last Deep Flippo Patreon interview back from August, John talked about about what it's like to coach against Fangio. It's phenomenal. And you could see the anger, the angst in his face and voice because he goes, "Listen, guys, it ain't easy." And he goes step by step what happens when you go against it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And people can still check that out. It's still up on the Patreon channel.
Every single one of them. Yep.
That's right. All right, Adam, before we get out of here, we got to do what we always do. It's the first one of the year, our prediction. So I'll start with you. Who's going to win the game? What's the score?
Well, here's the thing we didn't mention. I'm going to encompass of the stuff we didn't talk about.
Oh, okay.
We didn't talk about the new players, Cunningham or Dean. But I'm going to talk about the safeties because we mentioned in passing how it's not to be as good at safety. I think they'll hang in there against the run. I know Dean's not the biggest guy, but Cunningham absolutely is excellent against the run. He looks healthy, looks great. So he holds up. So when they run against him, I don't think it'll be first of all, Hargrave won't be there, and Hargrave did not compete well enough against the run. Jordan Davis now is in much better physical shape. Jalen Carter looks great. Folks, you don't realize how great he was in training camp. He was phenomenal in training camp. He's in great shape. I don't worry about the run game. I worry about coverage in the passing game with Stevenson out of the backfield. So you got to watch that. He's explosive in that area. This is where getting Cunningham on first and second down. Teams know this. I mentioned this weeks ago. They're going to go after Cunningham on early downs and base downs. So you're going to have to watch out for that. That does concern me a little bit. We should. O'Brien and Belichick are pretty smart. I'd be shocked if they don't go after Cunningham early, or even with the tight ends, making sure they target him where he's aligned on the weak side. So that could keep this game close. I think it's going to be low scoring. It's the first game of the year, unless there are obviously a bunch of turnovers, which you can't know. So I think it's a close game. I think the Eagles match up very well against them. I'm a little concerned about Hassan Reddick playing with this wrap on his hand. We just don't know how he's going to do with that. And again, Belichick will bring and Mayo will bring something different. I'm sure they've had several months to do it, but I'm still picking the Eagles here because the better team. Believe in Sirianni. It's going to be a little. There could be some hairy times with this game where you go, man, what are they doing? What's going on? People are going to yell and scream at their television, but they're going to win with an odd score, 22-16.
22-16. Okay, I like that. First odd score of the year, week one.
What happened?
I don't know. I'm with you. I do have some concerns about what the Patriots are going to be able to do through the intermediary air on first down. I think I totally agree that they're going to try to come out in 12 and have the Eagles respond with two off-ball linebackers on the field, and then try to throw at Zach Cunningham a little bit. But at the end of the day, that's still nickel and diming. I don't think they're going to have too many big plays. They may get a few in the run game. I think scoring points is going to be very difficult for the Patriots because I just don't think they have enough playmakers against this Eagles defense.
Well,
so on the flip side, I think the Eagles are facing a tough defense, but are so well-rounded. I do think they'll be able to put together some pretty good scoring drives and have a good plan. So I am picking the Eagles also to win. And I know, by the way, they are a 4-point favorite going into Foxboro. I'm going to say more than 4. I think they're going to get about 26, and I think the Patriots are going to be at about 16. So I'm going to say 26-16.
42. Okay, well, do we know what the over-under is? Okay.
The over-under was 45 last I checked. So
I like it. Under. Look, again, you can't count on, it's hard to predict turnovers. It's week one. This is going to be a fascinating chess match, man. I love it. I wish it was kind of late in the year when the game really meant something, when something was on the line. But it is week one. You want to get off to a great start.
Yep,
folks, looking forward to it. And special teams though, with that kid Jones, Marcus Jones, is so explosive. Greg Cosell told us about him. Remember that? No,
yeah, from Houston. Yeah, he loved him.
Yep. Exactly right. He's so explosive. I worry about coverage. I do.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Coming off the Super Bowl, that's a good one.
This is, the front office is do a better job helping out, Michael Clay. Coverage. I know the coverage was better late in the second half. Well, guess what? They had McPherson last year. He's done for the season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nope. That's definitely an area to key in on. Good stuff there. All right. We did do an NFL season preview and predictions and everything. Super Bowl, all division winners, MVP, comeback player of the year, coach of the year, all of that. Me, Adam, and Andrew DeCecco. So if you want to find out which one of us picked who to win the Super Bowl and which one of us had the most controversial pick, which I'll say all right away was me. I already got flack for.
Oh yeah. I heard you on Football 4. That's right.
Yeah, I already got a little flack for one of my picks, but hey, gotta keep it real.
Listen, going with the probability.
That's what I said.
You're going with what I want to do, but I ran it by some friends in the NFL, and they said, "Look, well, we're going to talk more about that if we do the pregame show." I'm sure.
Definitely. All right, but that's all at InsideTheBirds.com if you want to check out our season picks, our prediction picks. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. As always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.